I am very pleased to have as our special guest on the show a motivational speaker, an author, and a very dynamic human being. He's also a chiropractor, Dr. Zeal Okogeri. Aloha, welcome, Zeal.
Thank you very much, Jessica.
So good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Zeal, I invited you here to be a guest for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons is you were a survivor of a civil war in Africa. What was that like?
Well, when I was a young boy living in Nigeria, in a village of Afikpo, my country underwent a civil war, and I was about maybe 7 years old, and we began to hear this sound in my village, a sound that we never heard before. And the sound began to get louder and louder, and we realized these were jet fighters, jet bombers, and bombs began to explode everywhere. We had to run into the bushes and take cover. And as we were taking cover, we could hear glass shattering, our houses collapsing. And at one time, my mom was holding me down where we were taking cover. And I looked up and saw huge trees snap like toothpicks, one after the other, as bullets rained from the sky in every direction. I didn't think we were going to die. I knew we were going to die. I was just waiting for that moment for everything to black out. Fortunately, we survived the air raid. And we had 1 hour to pack and move out of our village for the next 3 years as refugees.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You were a refugee for...
We were refugees for 3 years. And I got to see the impact of war and the tragedy of war. And one of the major tragedies of war is that those who had nothing to do with the reason that the country went to war, they suffered the most.
Oh my gosh.
And my villagers, they were all crying, carrying agricultural produce and goats and chickens in long processions run away from the village. And they didn't know what they did. They had no idea.
Yeah.
What did we do? They were shouting in my village. What did we do?
They did nothing to deserve that.
And we had to run from one village to the other until the war eventually ended. And I saw the impact of war. War makes human beings into wild animals, but it also makes some human beings into angels as they bestow hospitality and generosity to strangers.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That during that conflict.
Yes, because there is something inherent in us that when we see another human being suffering, we are moved to do something about it. And I saw that during the war also.
Fast forward, how did you get from Africa to Hawaii?
I actually went from Africa. I lived in Europe. I lived in Greece. And I went to school in Greece, eventually coming to the US and going to school in the East Coast. From there to California, where I went to school for chiropractic. And of course, people always talked about Hawaii, how it is paradise. And I wrote a book when I was living in California, in San Diego, The Relentless Generosities of Spirit. It's my first book.
Wow.
Yes, and it talked about the war that I spoke about briefly and other aspects of my journey. So when I wrote that book, I did a book tour, and I traveled from San Diego to all the way to Santa Barbara, all the way to Minnesota. And by the time I got to Minnesota, it was rather cold. I was able to survive the first winter there.
It is cold in Minnesota, yeah.
And during the second winter, it was really cold, like 20 degrees below zero. Ooh. And I went to Travelocity and booked my flight to Honolulu.
Zeal, let's talk about your book, You Can Never Go Wrong by Being Kind.
Yeah, there are many stories in that book, and You Can Never Go Wrong by Being Kind actually came to me, the title, during meditation. And just as you look at the world today, if you watch the news, if you read the newspapers, you begin to realize that more than ever, we have a need for kindness and compassion in the world.
Yes, we do. And I'm glad that you wrote this.
Yes.
And so you said that you were inspired by writing this book, You Can Never Go Wrong by Being Kind,
Yes.
When you were in a meditative state.
Yes.
It's almost like a spiritual calling.
It is, because I was reminded that kindness and compassion is a deeply inherent quality. It's a deeply inherent human quality. But because of our preoccupation with the exigencies of life, we tend to neglect this inherent quality. It's a part of us to be kind, to be compassionate. That's who we are. But as we chase to try to fill in the gaps of our life, this aspect is somehow compromised. So the book serves as a reminder to us to tap into this source of love.
And of course, here in Hawaii, we call that the Aloha Spirit.
The Aloha Spirit,
That's
yes.
another, when I think of you saying that, it
Yes.
reminds me of the love and aloha here as well. Which I think, knowing you, Zeal, Hawaii is the perfect place for you to
It
live.
is a perfect place for it because aloha galvanizes the heart. Yeah. It really does. And it propels you to tap into this area, this inner space of love and kindness, because kindness is love in action. We can talk about love all we want. We can sing about love all we want until we apply it.
There are a lot of difficult people in the world, and you're writing a book about you can never go wrong by being kind. What sort of advice can you give to us when we're dealing with difficult people in the world?
First of all of us are beneficiaries of kindness. There is no one person who has not received kindness from another. It's impossible. And sometimes we want to demonstrate compassion, kindness, but we are afraid of getting taken advantage of. Maybe you have gotten taken advantage of before giving kindness, and now you are holding back.
Well, they say don't mistake kindness for weakness.
Exactly, or for stupidity, and all these things, you know. Yeah. However, when you give, you're not just giving to the person. You're giving to the spirit within the individual.
What else about Zeal Okogeri would you like us to know that you haven't already shared with us?
I'd like you to know that my effort is towards having more peace in the world, having us develop more love, more compassion, and to allow love to be our guidance, to guide us in our interaction with everybody that we meet.
Zeal, thank you so much for
Yes.
everything that you're doing. And where can we buy You Can Never Go Wrong by Being Kind by Dr.
It's available on Amazon.com. It's also available on our website. It's called kindnessbooks.com.
Zeal, thank you so much, and I wish you continued success and lots of love in your life.
Thank you so much, Jessica. It's good to be here with you.
My, it's a beautiful world. My, it's a beautiful world. Oh, my, it's a beautiful world. My, it's a beautiful world.